Hello, everyone. My name is Ajit, and I'm very excited to be here to talk about near real-time compliance at scale. Uber has over an exabyte of data, and being able to achieve near real-time compliance is not an easy task. It requires us to be thoughtful in our strategy and architecture. I'm going to go over this in the next few slides, but before I go any further ahead, I would like to thank the organizers for organizing the summit and also all of you for attending the summit. Let me briefly introduce myself. I have been at Uber for a little over 3 years with primary focus on data security, compliance, privacy, and governance. I previously worked at Meta, Amazon, in building data infrastructure and securing them. All right. Before I get into details of our strategy and architecture, let me set the stage by going over what, who, why of data compliance. Starting with what is data compliance? It's the practice of managing and protecting data in a way that follows legal and regulatory requirements, industry standards, and internal policies. It's important to remember that data compliance standards can vary by industry, region, and country. Who needs to comply? Any data-driven business needs to comply. I can share a few examples, but these regulations are required to be followed by almost all the industries. For example, for healthcare providers, insurance plan providers, and healthcare clearing houses must comply with HIPAA's data security and compliance standards. Similarly, financial institutions must comply with PCI, also known as Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, to protect customer financial information. Online businesses must comply with data protection regulations to protect customer data and maintain trust. This includes General Data Protection Regulation, also known as GDPR in the European Union. There are many more, and again, I'm not a legal expert, and I would recommend to please work with your company, legal and privacy experts to identify what compliance is appropriate for your business. Okay, we talked about what and who. Now let's talk about why compliance is important. I try to break it into four main areas. There could be many more. So the first one is legal and regulatory requirements. As I said before, the countries where your businesses operate are required to comply with regulatory requirements. Not doing that could lead to legal penalties, fines, and litigation costs. It can lead to significant financial and reputational damage. Next one is protecting data or protect data. Implementing compliance measures enhances your data security. As you will end up adding anonymization, encryption, access control, and many other things. You will also end up having access governance policies in place and regular reviews. This will help protect sensitive information from breaches, unauthorized access, and data loss. Third one being build trust. Being compliant would show to your customer that your organization values the privacy and data security. This fosters trust. This is essential for customer loyalty and brand reputation. And the last one is operational efficiency. You don't want each and every department in the company building their own data security design. This would lead to confusion and maintenance nightmare. You might have seen for folks who have been working in companies which have grown in last few years, in the initial phases, there is decentralized implementation in each and every department trying to bring their own way of enforcing compliance. However, this does not scale out and also not very cost efficient. And that's what I'm talking about, right? Hence, establishing clear compliance protocols can streamline data management processes, improving overall efficiency. It clarifies roles and responsibilities regarding data handling uh, uh, techniques. All right. So now let's talk about challenges. I try to set context, uh, given info on why, what. Now let's talk about how and what kind of challenges we faced at Uber, and how did we overcome these. So at a high level, I would say the data handling compliance for, I would say enforcing compliance, the biggest challenge for us is the volume of data. When you have less amount of data, you can go with manual processes. You can go with decentralized effort, or you can have an approach which does not require significant amount of effort. However, for bigger companies, especially when you're talking about exabytes of data, you need careful and thoughtful approach. However, I'll go to that, but before that, let me just share a few challenges, right? I would say the biggest one is the volume or the scale of data. I mean, being able to comply an exabyte of data uh, imposes significant logistic and technical hurdle just from the outset. Second one is evolving data and AI regulations, right? So folks who are closely following or have been working in compliance and data security industry, they know that in last few years, there have been many new regulations in place, and you're often required to comply with them as soon as possible. This is also an ever evolving and ever changing area. So, for example, right, we have GDPR, we have HIPAA, we have CCPA. So, all the companies that handle user data or any kind of financial data or any other data might have to ensure that you are ready to be able to comply with these changing regulations. Third one is huge compute cost. If you are intending to enforce compliance at a storage layer, right? Like for example, if you want to make sure that data at rest is fully compliant, this would need you to do significant amount of work at a file format level. For folks who have worked on in Parquet or ORC, there are features available that you can leverage and build encryption at a really low layer, like a storage layer. However, it comes with a huge cost, which means that you might have to go back and rewrite all your historic data. Uh, this is expensive, and not just expensive, it also brings in reliability risk. Cool. Let me go to the next one. It's manual processes. I touched upon it a bit, but there are several steps involved in enforcing compliance. For example, you might have automation in some areas, but making sure all the systems are talking to each other. At the same time, we also need to make sure we are coordinating with data owners while we make these changes. All these would need some level of manual intervention, assuming that you have built automation for the enforcement piece and the identifying of PI data piece. Two more to go. So I would say fine-grained monitoring. Not having fine-grained monitoring is a big challenge. This would create data compliance issues that would bubble up when you are in an audit, right? And you don't want to be in a situation like that. So you want to be 100% sure that all the compliance being enforced across tables, across instances are the way they're supposed to be. So you need to make sure you have partition level check, you have file level check to be sure that everything that's supposed to be compliant is compliant. And the last one is silos, right? I did touch upon this one as well, but each organization trying to build their own solution within a company is very expensive. And it would also bring in maintenance nightmare, also bring in integration issues. It just doesn't make sense to have every product or org building their own. However, this is a challenge. So that's where centralization comes into picture, and we're going to talk about it in the next slide. All right. So how did we solve it, right? And what's the strategy we used? So as I said in the beginning, right, solving these challenges requires strategic thinking and a solution that could work in the long term. Here are some strategies that we have used here at Uber. It might or might not work for you, but this is something that we came up with and implemented as we went for our compliance solution. So first one is proactive planning and policy framework. I would say it's very important to know uh, that developing a policy-driven compliance framework is the way to go here. This framework should be proactive rather than reactive, meaning that policies should be in place to address compliance requirements before they become issues. These policies must be regularly updated to keep pace with evolving regulations like GDPR, HIPAA, and CCP and whatnot. Second one is centralization. A good strategic solution involves centralizing coverage, compliance, and scalability efforts. This approach helps ensure that compliance measures are uniformly applied across all systems. It helps reducing the risk gaps in compliance protocols. Also, each org implementing their own solution or a part of the solution is going to be a maintenance nightmare, and it's going to turn out to be very expensive in the long run. Third one, uh, achieving near real-time compliance. By adopting near real-time compliance approaches, companies can improve monitoring and enforcement of compliance measures. Not doing that would need you to acquire significant amount of tech debt, which becomes very expensive to get rid of later. Fourth one, monitoring, enhancing. You need to have high quality monitoring with automation in place. What that means is automating compliance processes wherever possible to reduce human error, and it also increases efficiency. This includes the use of compliance tools and libraries for tasks such as auto data categorizations, policy enforcement, and access governance. And I'm going to cover some of these in detail as I go further in this presentation. Then it comes staff training and awareness programs. While you are building a lot of tooling, you need to make sure folks who are going to use these tools are to understand how they operate. So educating staff on compliance requirements and best practices is another critical component. Regular training sessions and awareness programs can help ensure that employees understand the importance of data compliance and what role they're going to play in maintaining these. The next one is phased implementation of compliance measures. This is very important, especially for bigger companies. I would say that a phased approach can help manage the complexity of large-scale data environment. This approach involves setting up different phases for offline data, online data, real-time data, and data in the cloud. You want to prioritize uh, the ones where you have the most impact. However, at the same time, you want to make sure that you do not impact reliability or availability of the systems where you are going to enforce compliance. Last one, I did not put over here, but I would say build versus buy. A lot of times you'll see that there are plugins available, there are security solution, privacy compliance solutions available. So that is another strategy, which is very much, I would say, uh, depends on what the company is trying to do. For example, for us, we try to leverage if there is a open source solution. Or at the same time, we understand that not everything that is available outside, whether to buy or to incorporate within our company, would suffice our requirements. So we look at everything, but we take a call on buy versus build based on each unique situation. So I would recommend based on what works for your company, you might want to take a call on that. All right. Uh, cool. So this is what our compliance solution at a very high level look like. As you can see, there are two main components here. We have a data classification component, and then we have a compliance platform or compliance infra component. If you go from left to right, you can see that once the data set is created, it goes through the categorization process. but it gets classified within a few days, the moment a table is born. Ideally, the users themselves should categorize the data to make sure we label the fields within the table. However, in reality, it doesn't happen all the time. Hence, we built a machine learning backed auto data categorization service that is able to categorize a large number of data sets with high accuracy. Once the data categorization service is done categorizing the data set, the output goes to the owner and sorry, and a specialized set of data specialists who perform one more round of review, post which tags are saved in our metastore, which is further consumed by the compliance services. Now let's talk about the compliance platform. Uh, our platform is policy driven and based on the policies defined by users, which could be here users could be your legal team, program managers, product managers, or engineers, right? It very much depends on who are your subject matter expertise or experts. We have built a few tools to achieve compliance requirements. For example, we have column level access control, giving us the ability to protect certain fields in a table. Similarly, we have table level access control and row level access control. With row level access control, you have the ability to bring in access control within that same table across uh, different geographies or businesses. I'm sorry. Our implementation is across the stack. What that means is we have built security and compliance plugins at storage layer. And in some cases, as required, we've also built plugins at query engine layer. Uh, exactly. Yeah, we do believe in centralization. However, in certain cases, there might be a need to go over a decentralized approach. And hence, we have libraries in place as well, which users can, users beyond platform can go ahead and self-serve. One example of such libraries is the anonymization uh, libraries that we have in place. One thing we keep in mind as we go about enforcing compliance is that these data sets are not owned by us. They are owned by users across the company, software engineers, data scientists. So it's important to ensure that there is no availability and reliability issue as we go ahead and enforcing compliance on them. We have built testing frameworks. Also, we have built fine-grained monitoring. We do send notifications to users every time we touch their data sets, and this helps build trust. Cool. Now, in next two slides, I will go a bit deeper on the data categorization piece, specifically the ML-backed auto data categorization piece, and then I'll go a bit deeper on the compliance platform side. So here you can see, this architecture shows you how the auto categorization flow or design looks like. So there are two main reasons. I mean, before I go or into deep of auto categorization, I would like to speak a bit about why we chose for auto categorization. Because a number of companies I worked before, and you're in your current company, you might be relying on users themselves to categorize the data. And why not, right? And why didn't that work for us? Or why didn't we didn't go in that direction? I would say the first reason is scale and cost. We have extensive data sets distributed across various storage systems. This scale is compounded by the generation of new data sets regularly. Central to our challenge is tagging numerous fields uh, at field level, and there is always a chance that each field could have multiple tags, and users not always have the right knowledge. At the same time, they might not have enough time to be able to perform this activity. The second challenge we faced was the engagement of data owners. Identifying and engaging data owners present a complex problem. It becomes very hard to have uh, users, because over time what happens is the owner of the data set might have moved to another project or another team, or might have left the company, and the existing owners might not have the same level of depth on the data set and be able to perform the fine-grained tag or categorization that our compliance regulations require us to do. Given the huge engineering cost and the impact of manual categorization through decentralized effort, our experiences have led us to build an auto categorization service. If you look at the design here, there are three main components. First one is building baseline, which we have done by categorizing less than 1% of data sets. It could be like really 1,000 or 2,000 data sets. You want to choose critical and highly utilized tables with close supervision from privacy and domain experts. These data sets are treated as the golden data sets with high categorization accuracy and are used to measure automation accuracy. Although the number of golden data sets is relatively small, there are some significant benefits. For example, model training is the most critical step of any supervised machine learning based solution. Without a proper training model, machines wouldn't even know what to comprehend in the first place. So we utilize the manually categorized data as the baseline for our ML approach. Another example is like risk mitigation, right? So we have a few business critical data sets that we don't want to risk due to mistagging. So that's why we manually tag those highly impactful data sets by owners or experts. Now, let's talk about training. So, which is the middle section in the diagram. So for rest of the 99% of data sets, so we're talking about over 200K data sets. We primarily utilize the new categorization, the auto categorization engine that I'm talking about here. At first, the new service is trained against the manually categorized data sets that I just talked about, right? Like in the baseline section. Until the accuracy reaches a satisfactory level without over tuning. In particular, there will be two substages here. First one is we iteratively train the model based on a subset of golden data sets and then run the model against the rest of the golden data sets. We then analyzed standard metric after each test run. If the metrics are not acceptable, we tune the model and rerun, reevaluate it until we get a satisfactory result. Metrics I'm talking about here is like accuracy, precision, recall, F2 score. The second bullet here is a list of detection rules to tag the data are created by domain experts. After a rule is defined, it continuously goes through a test run and rule adjustment until acceptable metric values are achieved. The initial rule definition and early rule iteration will have more human involvement. We will gradually move into rules auto adjustment, where we automate the adjustment process and roll out changes where they result in better predictions. Now let's talk about the third part, which is like serving in production, and I feel like which is very critical, given that the whole purpose of categorization is to ensure that we have an output that could be consumed by downstream services that actively work on enforcing compliance. So after our auto categorization engine is done categorizing, and we demonstrate its satisfactory metrics, accuracy. Imagine you're looking for accuracy greater than 90%, an F2 score of greater than 85 or 90% for training data sets. It will be ready for production tagging of the rest of the data sets. However, we plan to take some defensive processes at the early stage of mass categorization. It includes automatic ticket creation to review after the data set is categorized, where we rely on owners to stamp what our auto categorization engine did. Once that is done, we go and update our meta stores, which would have per field level tags and ready to be consumed by downstream compliance and enforcement processes. All right, so this is my last slide, and I'm gonna speak a bit about how do these downstream processes that I was talking about, the compliance infra, goes ahead and consumes. Let's assume that it has already consumed the metadata that we have stored in the meta stores. How does it goes ahead and enforces it? So if you look at the architecture, the middle stack, right, specific middle stack, you can see each layer of the data stack has security and compliance plugins, and they do interact with policy stores, meta stores to apply the right level of access control. For example, Our table level access control is enforced at the storage layer, and we need to make sure ACLs are updated in an asynchronous mode after the data workloads are complete. Similarly, for row level access control, we prefer to leverage the query engine and not go at the storage level and adopt any. And we ended up adopting an open source implementation and integrated it within our stack. We also operate in a centralized mode as much as possible by building solutions for anonymizations at query engine level instead of each product or building their own. The last part, which I feel like it's very important, is the monitoring part. It is very critical to build solid monitoring for the compliance requirements you've implemented. And as with time, there is a risk of having loose ownership, which will lead to loss of compliance enforcement. And as there could be multiple processes rewriting the same table, this could create a situation where you have many tables with broken encryption or broken access control or broken compliance enforcement, any other enforcement that you have built. So having solid, fine-grained monitoring and review process in place is very essential to having a solid compliance platform in place. That being said, I'm done with my presentation, and this is uh, again, that previous one was my last slide. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you have any questions, do reach out. At the same time, I would again like to thank the organizers for organizing the summit, and thank you all of you for watching this video. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.